Emily had always loved the quiet mornings in her small Texas town. The sun painted the streets gold, and the air carried the scent of freshly cut grass. Today, she decided to take her usual shortcut down the country road, a narrow lane flanked by tall oak trees. Her mind wandered as she hummed along to the radio, completely unaware of the scene ahead. A woman was struggling by the side of the road, bending awkwardly over the tire of a sleek motorcycle. Emily slowed, squinting against the sun, and realized the woman was clearly in distress. Her hands were covered in grease, and her expression showed a mix of panic and frustration. "Do you need some help?" Emily called, stepping out of her car. The woman jumped slightly and turned, revealing wide, anxious eyes. She nodded silently. I can't get this tire off," she admitted. Emily walked over and crouched beside her. "Don't worry, we'll figure it out together." As they worked, Emily noticed the biker's jacket hanging nearby, the leather scuffed and adorned with patches. She recognized it instantly. Mark, Razor, Hawkins, one of the most feared bikers in town. The thought made her stomach tighten. Helping his wife might not be as simple as changing a tire. But Emily ignored the fear gnawing at her. She tightened the wrench, positioned the jack, and spoke in a calm, steady voice. "Okay, one more turn, there. Got it." The tire came off smoothly, and the woman let out a relieved sigh. "Thank you," the woman said softly, brushing her hair from her face. "I didn't know what I would do if you hadn't stopped." Emily smiled, trying to mask the nervous flutter in her chest. "No problem. We all need a little help sometimes." For a moment, the road was quiet, save for the rustling leaves and distant hum of traffic. Emily couldn't help but glance at the motorcycle. "That's a beautiful bike," she said. The woman laughed lightly, a sound tinged with relief. "It's his pride and joy. Mark wouldn't be happy if he saw me struggling like this." Emily nodded, understanding without pressing further. "Well, now it's ready to go. Just be careful." The woman, Lily, as she finally introduced herself, smiled warmly. "You're brave, stopping here. Most people would have driven past." Emily felt a rush of warmth and a strange sense of purpose. Helping someone vulnerable, especially in a situation she knew could be dangerous, gave her a feeling she hadn't felt before. It wasn't heroism in the movies, but it mattered. And as Lily thanked her again and mounted her motorcycle, Emily realized that sometimes courage wasn't about fighting, it was about choosing to act when it mattered most. With a final wave, Lily sped off, leaving Emily standing on the quiet road, her heart still racing, but a quiet pride settling in. Today, she had done something important, something brave, and somehow, the world felt a little brighter. Word traveled fast in a small town, and it wasn't long before Emily heard whispers about her encounter with Lily. At first, she tried to ignore the attention, but the curious glances at the diner and the nods from strangers told her the story had already spread. Emily had expected at least some backlash from Mark, the biker whose wife she had helped, but so far, nothing had happened. Then, one Saturday morning, she found herself sitting at the corner booth in her favorite diner, nursing a cup of coffee, when a shadow fell across the table. She looked up and froze. Mark, Razor, Hawkins stood there, towering in his leather jacket, his arms crossed over a broad chest. Every story she'd ever heard about him flashed through her mind. Angry confrontations, fights, a temper that could ignite at the smallest provocation. Her heart pounded, and she felt the urge to apologize before he even spoke. But to her surprise, Mark didn't yell or make threats. He simply nodded, a silent acknowledgement that left Emily unsure what to do. "You helped her," he said finally, his voice deep but calm. "I appreciate that." Emily blinked, unsure she'd heard him correctly. "Why, you're welcome," she stammered. She hadn't expected gratitude from someone like him. Mark shrugged and turned, leaving a faint scent of leather and gasoline in the air. Emily exhaled slowly, realizing that sometimes bravery wasn't about fighting, it was about stepping forward when no one expected it. In the following weeks, Emily and Lily began to meet more regularly. At first, it was small things. Coffee at the local cafe, a quick chat at the farmer's market, sharing laughs over small town gossip. Emily learned that Lily had a gentle strength, the kind that didn't need leather jackets or motorcycles to make a mark. She had an honesty and warmth that contrasted sharply with Mark's intimidating reputation. Emily's friendship with Lily became a refuge, a place where both women could share stories and advice without fear. They talked about everything, from work stress to dreams they hadn't dared pursue. Emily was surprised at how natural it felt to be around someone from a world so different from her own. One afternoon, as they walked through the sunlit streets lined with oak trees, Lily smiled at Emily. "You know," she said, "most people would have driven past. Most people wouldn't have stopped." Emily shook her head. "It wasn't about courage. I just saw you needed help, and I did what I could. That's all." Lily laughed softly. "You make it sound so simple. But you did something important. You reminded me, and maybe even Mark, that kindness exists outside this town's rough edges." Emily realized she had never felt more connected to someone in her life. In a town built on reputations and toughness, her simple act of helping Lily had grown into something meaningful, something neither of them could have predicted. She had found an unlikely friendship and discovered that heroes sometimes wear ordinary shoes and carry toolkits, not just leather jackets. As they parted that afternoon, Emily felt a sense of calm confidence. She had acted when it mattered most, and in return, she had found trust, laughter, and a reminder that bravery could come in quiet, unexpected ways. Weeks passed, and Emily's quiet life had begun to shift in ways she hadn't expected. What started as a simple act of helping Lily with a flat tire had grown into an unusual bond with the woman, and, indirectly, with the town's biker community. One evening, Emily received a call from Lily. "Hey, I'm at the diner. Can you come by?" Lily's tone carried urgency, but not panic. Curious, Emily grabbed her jacket and drove the familiar country road to the diner, the sun dipping behind the trees. When she arrived, she found Lily pacing nervously outside. Before Emily could ask what was wrong, Mark appeared from the shadows, his expression unreadable. Emily tensed, but Lily gave her a reassuring glance. "Emily," Lily said quickly, "I need your help. Mark, he's planning something, and I don't think it's going to go well." Emily hesitated. She wasn't used to being pulled into biker affairs. But seeing the worry in Lily's eyes, she knew she couldn't refuse. "Okay," she said firmly. "Tell me what's happening." Mark spoke then, his voice low and controlled. "There's a rival gang trying to muscle in on our turf. Nothing crazy, but I need someone I can trust nearby. Lily asked me to make sure you were safe if things go south." Emily swallowed hard. She wasn't a fighter, and she definitely wasn't ready for confrontation. But the sincerity in Mark's tone made her realize this wasn't about danger, it was about loyalty and trust. For the next few days, Emily found herself at the diner more often than at home. She listened carefully as Mark and Lily discussed strategies quietly over coffee. Her role was simple but essential: watch, observe, and be ready to call for help if needed. She was learning the language of bikers, their codes, and their unspoken rules. One night, as they all watched the quiet street from a diner booth, a black motorcycle roared past. Emily felt a flicker of fear, but Mark reached over and placed a steady hand on hers. "You're doing fine," he said, almost quietly. "Not everyone gets this far." It wasn't long before Emily realized something profound. Bravery didn't mean fighting. It meant standing by someone when they needed you most, even if it terrified you. She had started by changing a tire, and now she was a small but important part of a community she never imagined she would belong to. When the tense situation with the rival gang passed without incident, Lily hugged Emily tightly. "You didn't have to do this," she whispered. "But you did, and you've earned a place with us, whether you realize it or not." Emily smiled, feeling a deep sense of belonging. She had come to help a stranger, and in doing so, she had discovered courage within herself, forged an unlikely friendship, and gained a respect she never thought possible. In that small Texas town, heroes didn't always ride motorcycles or wear leather. They sometimes came in quiet, determined forms, ready to act when it mattered most. As she walked back to her car that night, the stars overhead shining brightly, Emily understood one simple truth. Sometimes, doing the right thing, even in the face of fear, changes not just others' lives, but your own. After the tension with the rival gang had eased, life in the small Texas town slowly returned to its familiar rhythm. But for Emily, nothing felt quite the same. She had stepped into a world she never imagined, one of roaring motorcycles, leather jackets, and quiet acts of bravery, and emerged with a confidence she hadn't known she possessed. One Saturday morning, Emily got a call from Lily. "Come with me," she said. "There's something I want to show you." Curiosity piqued, Emily agreed and followed Lily down winding country roads until they reached a clearing at the edge of town. There, parked under the shade of an old oak tree, were several motorcycles. Mark and his friends had gathered for their weekend ride. Emily felt a familiar flutter of nerves but was surprised when Mark rode up beside her on his bike, stopping with a nod. "Ready for a small adventure?" he asked. She blinked, unsure how to respond, but Lily squeezed her hand. "You've been part of this world for weeks now," she said. "You can handle it." Slowly, Emily climbed onto a bike, gripping the handles with white-knuckled determination. The engine roared beneath her, sending a rush of adrenaline through her veins. As they drove through the winding roads of the countryside, Emily realized that fear and excitement were intertwined. She felt alive in a way she hadn't before, her heart pounding in rhythm with the engine. Lily rode alongside her, laughing freely, the tension of the past weeks melting away. Emily began to understand why Lily loved this life so much, the sense of freedom, the thrill, and the loyalty that bound the bikers together like an unbreakable chain. When they stopped at a small overlook, the sun dipping behind the horizon in shades of gold and crimson, Mark dismounted and offered Emily a hand. She accepted it, feeling a surge of pride. She had started as an outsider, uncertain and cautious, and now she stood here, part of something bigger than herself. Lily smiled at her. "You know, Emily, helping me that day, it changed everything. Not just for me, but for all of us. You reminded us what kindness and courage look like in the real world." Emily shook her head, feeling a lump in her throat. "I just did what I thought was right," she said softly. But deep down, she knew it was more than that. It was the bravery to step forward, the trust to face the unknown, and the openness to connect with people from worlds she never imagined. Mark approached and placed a hand on Emily's shoulder. "You've got guts," he said simply. "Not everyone would have done what you did." Emily looked at him, recognizing the respect in his eyes, something she never thought she'd earn from a man whose reputation alone could intimidate anyone. As the sky darkened and stars began to appear, Emily felt a sense of peace she hadn't known she could feel. She had helped a stranger, faced her fears, and discovered that bravery came in many forms. Heroes weren't just those with muscles or motorcycles, they were people willing to act when it mattered, people who stepped forward quietly, and people who believed in the power of kindness. That night, Emily drove home with a newfound sense of self. She had entered a world she never thought she'd belong to and emerged stronger, braver, and forever changed.